Welcome to today's video, which is going to be about what it means to be multi-passionate, what it means to have so many interests and passions, and how to neatly bring them all together without having to put ourselves in a tidy box, to present ourselves in a way that looks good on the outside but doesn't really feel good on the inside. And while I talk, you can watch me paint something very exciting. So I decided, or honestly, I felt really called to create a second oracle deck, the sister deck to the Witch Cat, which is an Akashic Records Oracle deck that I created. This is the sample, and I still want to come back and do some refinements for this deck, but it brings me so much joy and I love it so dearly. So it means a lot to me that you're starting with me on this new journey today, that I'm not alone, that I'm having you with me by my side. That really is something special. So yes, you can see me paint and also hear me talking about being multi-passionate. And I would say, without any further ado, let's get into today's topic. This is for the artist, the dreamers, the spiritually curious, and all the multi-passionate beings out there trying to make space for their whole selves, celebrating the sparks of interest that can lead into real passion when pursued. You might have heard the term multi-passionate floating around lately, and maybe you're wondering what that actually means. To me, it means loving many things deeply, not just dabbling, but genuinely feeling pulled toward different forms of expression, exploration, and creation. It might mean I want to paint with oils one day, write a story the next, and build an oracle deck the day after that. It means I fall in love with ideas fast and often, that I'm always learning, experimenting, trying. And it also means I've often felt torn between all those things, like I need to pick just one identity to be taken seriously or to be quote-unquote consistent online. But what if being multi-passionate isn't a flaw to fix? It's an immense thirst for life. I've always had many creative loves, and when it comes to painting, I enjoy exploring different styles and mediums depending on where inspiration leads. I'm also deeply drawn to the spiritual realm, and my daily practices are a big part of who I am. For a long time, I was looking for an oracle deck that could truly accompany my spiritual routine. And as I couldn't find the perfect match, I decided to create it myself. So yes, today you're watching me paint the first card of the new deck, and this is how it all begins. One brushstroke, one breath, one story at a time. Embracing all my interests rather than focusing on only a few didn't come to me overnight. It took me time to soften into this natural, sacred rhythm, to allow myself to follow joy and all the different passions asking for my time and attention. I once believed, as many of us do, that I had to narrow it all down. My teacher even told me it's best to have just 3 projects on the go at once. So I tried. I really did. I picked my 3 main things and constantly felt like I was failing. But what I didn't understand then and what I know now is this. I don't need to nurture everything equally all the time, and stepping away from something for a while doesn't mean I've abandoned it. There are days when the garden calls me and I lose myself in the rhythm of caring for plants, chickens, and flowers. There are weeks when all I want is to soak in Arabic stories and poetry. And other times I find myself swept up in painting, whether it's blooming flowers or magical creatures whispering new words into my brush. Each of those passions, each of those seasons becomes part of a larger story, and I don't stand in each other's way. Quite the opposite. When I write, I get ideas for paintings. When I paint, I get visions for stories. When I'm out gathering flowers or learning something new, the joy spills over into everything else. All my passions speak to each other in secret, like friends holding hands behind my back. They are not obstacles to each other. They are the threads of the tapestry. And still, sometimes it's hard to not finish a project when you hope to feel like you're falling behind on something you love. That's when I had to learn the art of returning, because the truth is, projects can rest. That doesn't mean they're lost. Sometimes they even need to rest because you first have to live something that the project is missing. Right now, finishing my Oracle deck and painting new stories are the center of my attention, and other passions like learning Arabic have gently moved into the background. Not forgotten, just waiting for me to return. And I know the season will come again when the inner call becomes so loud I can't ignore it any longer. And I come back with fresh eyes and a new thirst for learning. This is why I believe it's so important to practice the return, to train the muscle that says, this love still lives here even if I haven't touched it in a while. For those of us with many loves, we can't do it all at once, even if we want to. We only have so much energy each day, and our hearts need room to breathe. A big part of this journey for me was letting go of the invisible rulebook. You know the one that says you must post constantly or you must only do one thing if you want to be taken seriously. I used to believe I had to finish everything on a tight schedule. Last year, for example, I wanted to release my Oracle deck before Christmas. And I pushed and pushed until the joy began to fade. My passions, my loves began to feel like a task and eventually even like a burden. So I let go. I gave the deck space to breathe. And in that space, I lived, I learned, I grew. And now coming back to it feels like a homecoming, like hugging a friend I've missed and seeing them more clearly than ever. Projects don't need our pressure. They need our presence. And one last thing I want to share with you. Once in the Akashic Records, I was shown a rainbow. It appeared again and again in different readings as a symbol of a soul whisper. Enjoy the ride. Don't live only for the destination. That message stayed with me, and now it feels like part of everything I create and experience. I no longer worry about how all my parts fit together. They do because they're all me. So if you're someone with many loves, if you feel like your interests are too scattered or your projects take too long, let me offer this. You're not scattered, you're symphonic. You're not inconsistent. You're lunar, seasonal, intuitive. And that is your niche. Not a subject or a style, but a soul-led way of creating. You're allowed to pause. You're allowed to return. You're allowed to follow what lights you up today. And trust that the rest will still be waiting for you when the season returns. Let joy lead the way and let your heart decide when it's time to bloom again. I am so happy that you spent this time with me today, and I hope that you feel inspired and so motivated to express all your passions and follow your joy. So if you are anything like me, or if you have different strategies, I would love to read your comments. You know, I do love that very much. So yes, if you want to leave anything that relates to this topic, I would honestly love to read your comments and Also, I am sending you so much love, so much good energy, and have a good time. Bye bye.